Well, Nobby is a dialect name, local name at least, for a Morecambe Bay prawner. I mean, you have Nickies in the Isle of Man, you have Luggers in Cornwall, you have Smacks on the East Coast, and the Morecambe Bay prawners are called Nobbies. And it's very hard to define where the word Nobby comes from, but Nobby is a Lancashire dialect word for rough wood. And most of the Nobbies were built of rough wood because they weren't expensive boats. So it's very feasible that a Nobby was called a Nobby because it was built of rough wood. There's a Nobby over there, she's built of rough wood.
They were robust and fast, these Nobbies. They sailed the shallow breaking sea off the Lancashire coast, and they needed to be fast to get back quickly to catch the market. They took all sorts of fish, but above all they chased the insatiable demand for prawn and shrimp. With shrimp boiler on board, one man and a boy was all it took to pursue the lucrative catch. There's only one Nobby still working out of Liverpool, but there are still Nobby men, and this year they'll hold their 6th annual race on the Mersey. The powerhouse for this event is J&D Motors, a small, struggling garage in the centre of Liverpool.
The lad with the Peggy in Conway has got a mainsail aboard, and he was going to come up, he's got a 36-footer, and he said, I've got a mainsail.
It's here that Don Griffiths wheedles and cajoles the tiny band of enthusiasts into turning up for the great day. And through all the excitement, Jack Parsons, Don's friend and partner, keeps the customers' cars on the road.
Yeah. Right, then can you make that check out to Mersey Marine Services, that one?
That one you won't leave it blank, though.
Yeah, because I've forgotten how much it was. Well,
right.
I kept that for you,
And that covers the pump and things like that.
No, that covers your hatch.
David Wilson is an advertising man, a Don Griffiths recruit with a deadline still to meet.
The drive plate for your engine.
I got very much involved in starting reading up about the history of the boats, etc. A little bit more than I'd even thought about. And got talking about their boat and enthusing about their boat over a few pints. And then next thing he said, I think I know where there's one for sale. So I bought it. And we stuck it in the Collingwood dock undercover there. And it's been out of doors for about 3 years, so it was in a little bit of a state. The decks were totally rotten. So we started working about 5 weeks ago, and I had two chaps working on the deck situation, two boat builders working on that. And I've had one of my other lads working on a permanent basis, scraping down and doing the caulking. We recorked the whole boat. The basic planking looked very good. There's some dry rot up at the under the deck, especially up at the bow end, and which I think is probably to be expected in a boat built in 1920, which really hasn't been in the salt water for the last 3 years. And we got some nice, it wasn't Colombian pine, but it was something very similar to that. There's no knots in it, all good, clean stuff. It's not a Rolls-Royce job, it's more of a fishing job than a yacht job. And it had a huge diesel engine in a big old Ailsa Craig. And we replaced that, thanks to Don, with his marine diesel, which is a BMC diesel, which he had there, which is it's a lot of new parts to it. It's practically a new engine on it. Coming on well there.
Looks well now, David.
So what? I suppose they can rub that down a bit, can't they? Yeah.
It certainly needs it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Perhaps you'll get a sander on that.
You can't do it till you'll have to do it now before you put the top coat on.
That's right, but I think he wants to sort it out. That's one thing.
It depends whether you got the time. This is a bloody problem all the time.
I can always come back in the winter. We got this working now too.
Yeah.
That was bloody solid.
I helped him out with that, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
I wanted to run this to get the.
What colour are you painting the waterline?
White, about a 4-inch white line. Then we get the anti-fouling below.
White's a bit of a bugger, you know, to keep clean. That's your problem. Looks well now. Done a good job. Well, that's got to come
From
out, hasn't it?
Dalewood. Yeah, that's to take the bowsprit. It's got to have a look. They've done a wonderful job, and they're just finishing off at this moment. Here we are, Thursday night, ready to go into the Albert Dock on Friday, so ready for the race on Sunday. So it has been a very breakneck operation.
Michael Griffiths is Don's brother. He fills the otherwise empty days of long-term unemployment restoring his boat.
I believe she was built in Fleetwood in 1903. Ernie Jones had her for many, many years. God, I remember as a kid going aboard her boat. She used to keep her in tip-top condition, Ernie. When we sort of came about it at Fleetwood, and I said to Michael, bloody hell, I said, this is the Jean. So then we decided to pursue the bloke who owned it to see could we buy it, because Michael was all fired up then, wanted a Nobby, and dug it out of the mud and raised it up with 45-gallon drums and inner tubes, and the mast was snapped off it, all the rigging was gone on it, the engine was just all rust, and she was full of mud inside. But Michael slept aboard. Him and Brian, his friend Brian, used to go up and sleep aboard and do the small repairs, really, just to float the boat, because she was standing out on the mud at the time. And eventually she went in the water, and we towed her off. And we didn't really know what state the hull was in. In actual fact, when we found out later, good grief, we would never towed it down. Oh my God, the mud must have held the bloody planks together at one stage. Eventually, anyhow, they got it down to Warrington, and they got her lifted out on the quayside. And then the first job was obviously to clean the boat out, and God, did we find some things then.
These boats went through the 26th strike when there was no social security, there was no Lloyd George, there was nothing. This boat was here between you and starvation. And they went down the river and they gathered shrimps and flats, and then they went on the coal bank to get you some coal, and that's all you had between you and the pawn shop. When you think these boats sailed in Liverpool before the slave trade, these boats were the greatest boats on earth. Without these, there would be no Liverpool. And so why should we not bring them back, restore them, bring them back out of the ashes? And let's be honest, if you have never sailed a Nobby, you have not yet lived. And if you have sailed a Nobby, you're lucky to live.
There's a character, if there ever was one, Harry Bloomfield. He is a real character. I think he's 74 years of age, still sailing the boat, still winning, still needling everybody, still spurring them on. He did say to Michael, in actual fact, he said, oh, she's a wonderful boat, she'll do well this year. The only thing is, he said, I hope you're behind me when you do it. And I think that little bit of needle air's there all the time, but Harry's a character, and he's got to be, hasn't he? And he's won the race 3 times before.
Farewell to the mates. Here's a song, Harry. We're off. Till the sands of the desert grow cold. I am a bright and sprightly lad that have just come home from sea, sir. And of all the life I ever lived, a sailor's life was sweet, sir. With a yo-ho-ho, sir, yo-ho-ho, sir. A whilst the boat fights on.
Harry grew up with boats when he was a child. The fishing boats, the Nobbies that used to be round Warrington and Runcorn, Harry used to be aboard them when he was 10 and 12 years of age. He used to get paid for scrubbing the bottoms off and carrying the water. He's fished during the war, before the war, after the war. He's an old salt, Harry. But I think he's got to be realistic this year. And he's got a lot better competition this year as people have got themselves a bit more organised, a bit more wound up, a bit more needle. And I think that he'll have a job on his hands this year if he's going to win this year.
We were up looking for boats in Fleetwood, and there was nothing there like available. So we went down to a place called Skippool Creek, and there was 2 lads there who'd been digging this out. So got chatting to them and all that, give them a hand, and put patches on it and floated it down to Liverpool. And stripped it all out, of course. And, well, that's the result now, isn't it?
So why have you renamed it?
Oh, I always wanted a boat with my father's name on. And that's my father's name. That's the reason. It's a good one for me, you know. Let's have a look at it.
You're not cluing on this one, are you, Harry?
Dad was a deep sea fisherman in actual fact. big man, 6'2", big shoulders. He was Goliath to me when I was a kid. He was always missing for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. He'd be out fishing in the Irish Sea. And then he took Michael under his wing when he was about 13. Michael was his right-hand man. And I got a boat when I was 16, so Michael had probably been in boats then for at least 3 or 4 years before me. And I had a boat with a couple of friends, and Michael was still partners with my dad, right up till my dad died. Michael was always with my dad. They had their own boat, and I had mine and my friend's boat. It means to Michael now, really, that he's got the boat he wants, and probably the boat he's always really wanted. And she's a real credit to the work he's put in the boat, because she's a beautiful boat. And I think he's took a liking to it, and the boat, obviously, this may sound wrong, but the boats obviously take a liking to him. They're a match pair. And I think you've got to have that with a boat, because your life depends on a boat when you're out at sea. And the boat depends on you getting you home, and you've really got to have a very compatible situation between you and the boat, because if you're out there and something happens, you've got to know that your boat's going to be all right, and vice versa. The boat won't get home without you.
They say the finest Nobbies were built by Francis Crossfield in his boatyard at Arnside near Morecambe, where 4 men could build you a boat in just 1 month. The Crossfield family exported their skills, one son starting a yard here in Conway, North Wales. The yard is closed now, and the last Nobby builder, Alf Crossfield, has retired to Deganwy across the estuary. But Conway is still home for several Nobbies. Bob Ross in his boat Peggy will make the trip up to Liverpool today, along with the Snipe, skippered by Tony Price. Across the water in Deganwy, the Falcon is sitting on the mud waiting for the tide. Nobbies can be anything from 28 to 42 feet long, and at 28 feet, Ken Warburton's Falcon will be the smallest boat in the race. Built in 1946, she's also the only known post-war Nobby.
Are you going across just for the crack, or are you going across to win?
Oh no, we're going in the race. We're going to have a go at it. That's the purpose of going up there. I don't see any point in travelling all the way around there just to go along with it. I've got to get into it.
How far is it? How long will it take you?
Oh, I think we'll fetch up tonight about 9:30, 10 o'clock. You know.
So it's a hard day's sailing?
Well, wind where it is, it's better than last year, because it was a bit, it was bad last year.
2 days left to the race, and the time has come for a sea trial for Eddie Lee and his boat, the Albion.
You can't talk about Eddie Lee unless you talk about Eddie Lee and the Albion. The boat's been around a long time, and Eddie Lee's been around quite a bit of time. Eddie's a character. He's one of the stalwarts of the Nobby race.
As soon as she comes in, we'll go out on the same lock, and we'll be out in the river then, like 10 minutes or so.
And it's the first time with your new sails?
Well, yeah, it is the first time. We'll endeavour to see how they perform. Not looking for miracles.
But they're better than last year's?
Oh gosh, last year's I just had little bits of bunting for sails, oil skins. I think I should do better this year.
Where did you come last year?
Came about 5th.
And about how many boats were in the race again?
5.
And was last year your first time in?
Oh no. Well, the 5th or 6th time.
It
been a bit of a laugh and a joke. Good day out. And I was grossly undersailed, you know. But a lot of the fellas took it serious. We just had a laugh.
So you haven't distinguished yourself yet?
I will do this time. I've got a new nameplate on the back of the boat, and there's an awful lot of them fellas going to see it this time.
You've got to give it to him. He's come last every year without fail. But he's entered again, and that's the sort of spirit he's got. And this year, he's got himself organised for the change. I think the needle was there last year with him coming last. And he's not a rich man by any means, but Eddie's scraped, begged, borrowed, made, had given to him lots of things and bits and bobs to get the boat organised this year. He's very well liked, Eddie Lee. In fact, most of them are pretty ordinary, genial sort of blokes. They went down to